The pregnancy test in my pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric as I climbed the stairs to tell him the news. After 3 years of trying, countless doctor's appointments, and tears that had carved permanent shadows under my eyes, those two pink lines represented everything. Our miracle, our second chance. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. I'd planned this moment for hours. The words, the tone, the way I'd hold his hands and watch his face transform from shock to joy. I'd even stopped at the bakery to pick up those ridiculous cupcakes with the question mark frosting that expectant mothers apparently bought these days. The cupcakes were still in my car. I never made it back downstairs to get them. Our bedroom door was cracked open just enough. Not closed, not wide open. Just that careless middle ground that people leave when they think they're alone in a house. When they think they have time. When they've gotten so comfortable in their deception that they've stopped being careful. I heard her laugh first. Not his, hers. That bright musical sound that had filled our home for the past 8 years. The laugh that came with skinned knees and terrible jokes, with birthday parties and sleepovers, with first days of school and late-night movies on our couch. Sage's laugh. My daughter Lily's best friend since 4th grade. The girl who called me Mrs. Chen but hugged me like family. The girl whose own mother had died when she was 9, whose father worked oil rigs in the Gulf and was gone more than he was home. The girl we'd taken in during those long absences, who had her own drawer in Lily's room, her own toothbrush in the bathroom, her own place at our dinner table. The girl who was 19 now. A sophomore at the community college, the girl who was in my bedroom. With my husband. Laughing. My hand reached for the door frame, steadying myself as the world tilted sideways. The pregnancy test pressed harder against my hip, a cruel reminder of the future I'd been imagining just 60 seconds ago. I should have walked away. Called out. Made noise on the stairs. Given them time to scramble and lie and pretend? That's what reasonable people do, isn't it? They give others the dignity of their deceptions. Instead, I pushed the door open wider. The afternoon sun streamed through our gauzy white curtains, painting everything in soft gold. Our wedding photo on the dresser. The book I'd been reading on my nightstand. The lavender walls I'd painted myself 3 summers ago. Everything exactly as it should be, except for them. They weren't in bed. That's what stopped my heart first, the sheer ordinary nature of the scene. They were sitting on the floor beside the bed, Sage cross-legged in her ripped jeans and oversized sweater, my husband Daniel next to her in his work clothes, still wearing his tie. Papers spread out between them, textbooks, a laptop balanced on a pillow. They were studying. Sage looked up first, and that's when I saw it. The smile. Not guilty, not startled, not embarrassed. Just warm and easy and innocent. The same smile she'd given me 1,000 times before when I'd brought snacks during study sessions or reminded her about dinner. "Oh, hey, Mrs. Chen," she said, tucking a strand of her honey blonde hair behind her ear. "I didn't hear you come in. Daniel's been helping me with my economics paper. This recession analysis is killing me." Daniel turned and his expression matched hers. Pleasant surprise. Maybe a touch of sheepishness at being caught skipping work to help with homework. But nothing more. "Hey, love!" I came home early. Sage texted that she was struggling with this assignment, and I figured since I actually lived through the 2008 crisis, I could give her some real-world perspective. I stood there, frozen. My mouth open. The pregnancy test a lead weight in my pocket. They stared at me, their smiles starting to fade into concern. "Elena?" Daniel stood up, brushing off his slacks. "Are you okay? You look pale." I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. My mind was still 3 seconds behind, still processing what I'd expected to find versus what was actually there. Still hearing Sage's laugh through the door and constructing entire narratives of betrayal that now lay shattered at my feet like dropped glass. "Mrs. Chen?" Sage was standing now too, worry creasing her young face. "Do you need to sit down?" The worst part, the absolute worst part, was that I recognized my own sickness in that moment. The way my brain had leaped so immediately to the darkest conclusion. The way I'd convicted them both without trial, without evidence, without even the basic dignity of looking before judging. What did that say about me? About my marriage? About the trust I pretended to have? I'm fine, I managed, my voice coming out strangled. I thought, never mind. Daniel crossed to me, his hand reaching for my elbow. You're shaking. Elena, what's wrong? How could I explain? How could I tell him that I'd climbed those stairs with joy and descended into suspicion so quickly that I'd given myself whiplash? That some broken part of me had been so ready to believe the worst that I'd already written the ending before seeing the beginning. I have news, I said instead, because I couldn't think of anything else. My hand went to my pocket, fingers closing around the plastic test. I was coming to tell you something. Sage, bless her, understood social cues better than I gave her credit for. I should go, she said quickly, already gathering her papers. We can finish this later, Daniel. Thank you so much for the help. You don't have to leave, I protested weakly. But she was already heading for the door, laptop tucked under her arm. She paused beside me, and that smile appeared again. The one that had seemed so sinister through the crack in the door. Up close, in full light, it was just Sage. Sweet. Earnest Sage who still wore the friendship bracelet Lily had made her in 6th grade. Congratulations, she whispered, her eyes flicking to where my hand rested on my stomach. I won't say anything. She was gone before I could ask how she knew. Before I could process that somehow this 19-year-old girl had read the situation faster than my own husband. Daniel's hands were on my shoulders now, turning me to face him. Elena, what news? I pulled out the test, held it between us like a peace offering. Like an apology for thoughts I'd never spoken. Like a prayer for forgiveness for sins committed only in my mind. He stared at it. 1 second, 2, 3, are you serious? His voice cracked. Is this real? I nodded, watching his face. Watching for the joy I'd imagined. Watching for anything that would make the last 5 minutes make sense. What I saw instead was fear. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Not happiness. Not excitement. Not even shock. Just pure, undiluted fear that drained the color from his face and made him step backward. Away from me. Away from the test. Away from everything that little plastic stick represented. Daniel? He sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. The tie I'd bought him for Christmas hung loose around his neck. His wedding ring caught the afternoon light. How far along? His voice was muffled. The doctor said probably 6 weeks. I have an appointment next Tuesday to confirm. Silence. The clock on the nightstand ticked. Somewhere outside, someone was mowing their lawn. Normal sounds in a moment that felt anything but. Say something, I whispered. He looked up at me then, and I saw something I'd never seen in his face before. Not in 15 years of marriage. Not through miscarriages and disappointments and countless negative tests. Something that made my blood run cold. Guilt, not fear. Not shock, guilt. We need to talk, he said. But not right now. I need to think. Think about what? Daniel, we've been trying for 3 years. This is what we wanted. It's what you wanted. The words came out flat, emotionless. I went along with it because you were so desperate, Elena. Because I couldn't stand to see you cry anymore. But I didn't think it would actually happen. The pregnancy test slipped from my fingers, clattering onto the hardwood floor. Neither of us moved to pick it up. What are you saying? He stood up, straightening his tie with mechanical precision. I'm saying I need some air. I'm saying this is complicated. I'm saying give me some time to process. Time to process that you're going to be a father? Time to process the miracle we've been praying for? Your miracle, Elena. Your prayers. He was at the door now, and I couldn't read his expression anymore. Couldn't find my husband in the stranger wearing his face. I'll be back later. We'll talk then. Daniel, wait, but he was gone, his footsteps heavy on the stairs, the front door opening and closing with a finality that shook the house. I stood alone in our bedroom, in the golden afternoon light, with a positive pregnancy test at my feet and the ghost of Sage's innocent smile still hanging in the air. I'd been so wrong about what I'd find behind that door. So catastrophically, completely wrong. But maybe I'd been right about something being broken after all. Just not what I thought. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Grace. "Did you tell him yet? Is he freaking out with joy?" "I'm dying here!" I ignored it, moving to the window instead. Daniel's car was pulling out of the driveway, too fast, tires squealing slightly on the asphalt. He turned left at the end of our street. Away from his office. Away from town? Just away. The papers Sage and Daniel had been studying were still scattered on the floor. I knelt down, gathering them without really seeing them. Her economics notes, printouts about the 2008 recession, an essay draft with Daniel's handwriting in the margins, suggestions and corrections in his precise script. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing hidden. Just a middle-aged man helping his daughter's best friend with homework, the way he'd helped Lily countless times, the way any decent person would. I'd poisoned it with my suspicion. Turned something innocent into something sordid with nothing more than my own broken imagination. My hand went to my stomach, to the tiny cluster of cells that had somehow managed to beat the odds and take root after years of trying. Our miracle. My miracle. Apparently not his. The doorbell rang. For one wild moment, I thought maybe Daniel had come back. Forgotten his keys, realized his mistake. Ready to apologize and celebrate and be the husband I needed him to be. I ran down the stairs, hope doing stupid things to my common sense. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Daniel standing on our porch. It was Sage. She'd changed clothes. Not the casual jeans and sweater anymore, but a dress, makeup, hairstyled. She looked older somehow, more deliberate. Her smile was different too. Not innocent. Not warm, knowing. "I forgot my phone charger," she said, but she made no move to come inside. Just stood there studying me with eyes that suddenly seemed decades older than 19. "You thought you caught us, didn't you? When you opened that door, it wasn't a question." "I don't know what you mean," I said. But the words came out weak. "Yes, you do." She tilted her head, and something about the gesture reminded me of a cat that's cornered a mouse. "You heard me laughing and you thought you knew exactly what you'd find." The cliché of it all. The older man, the young girl, the betrayed wife. "Sage, But that's not what shocked you most, was it?" She leaned against the doorframe, completely at ease. "What shocked you was my smile. How normal I looked. How innocent. How you couldn't tell if you'd imagined the whole thing or if I was just that good at hiding it." My heart was pounding now, blood rushing in my ears. "I think you should leave. I will. In a minute." She glanced over my shoulder, into the house. "Is he gone, Daniel?" I didn't answer. "He is. I saw him leave." Looked pretty upset. Her eyes found mine again. "Did you tell him about the baby? How did you—" "The way you were touching your stomach. The look on your face. Plus Lily mentioned you'd been trying forever." She pushed off from the doorframe. "Bet that didn't go the way you planned, huh?" I tried to close the door, but her hand shot out, stopping it. "Here's the thing, Mrs. Chen." Her voice was soft now, almost gentle. "I really did forget my charger. And Daniel really was helping me with my homework. And you really did jump to the worst possible conclusion because something in your marriage is already broken, and you know it. Get out. But now you'll always wonder." She smiled that smile again. The one I'd seen through the crack in the door. "Every time I'm over here. Every time Daniel mentions my name. Every time Lily has a sleepover and I'm in the house. You'll wonder if you were wrong to suspect us, or if you were right and just couldn't prove it." I said, "Get out." "And that wondering?" She stepped back, releasing the door. "That's going to eat you alive. Way worse than if you'd actually caught us doing something, because at least then you'd know for sure." She was walking down the porch steps now, pulling her phone from her purse. No charger. She'd never forgotten one. "Oh, and Mrs. Chen?" She turned back, backlit by the setting sun. "Congratulations on the baby. I really do hope everything works out for you." The way she said it made it sound like a threat. I closed the door, locked it, and slid down to sit on the floor of my entryway. The pregnancy test was still upstairs. Daniel was somewhere out there, running from the news that should have made him happy. And Sage's words were echoing in my head, burrowing in like parasites. My phone buzzed again. Grace still waiting for news. Mom, asking if I wanted to come to dinner Sunday. A reminder about Lily's orthodontist appointment tomorrow. All the normal pieces of my normal life, except nothing felt normal anymore. I'd climbed those stairs thinking I knew exactly what my future looked like. Love, family, joy, the things we'd been waiting for. Instead, I'd found doubt, fear, questions without answers. And the worst part, the part that made bile rise in my throat, was that I didn't even know what I was afraid of anymore. What I'd actually seen, what I'd imagined, what Sage had deliberately planted in my mind. The sun was setting now, long shadows stretching across our hardwood floors. In a few hours, Lily would be home from her shift at the bookstore, full of stories about difficult customers and weekend plans. Daniel would eventually have to come home too. And I'd have to figure out how to tell our daughter she was going to be a big sister when I couldn't even get her father to be happy about it. I pulled out my phone, opened a new text to Daniel. We need to talk. Really talk. Tonight. The message showed as delivered. Then read, no response. I waited there in the growing dark, one hand on my stomach where our miracle was growing, the other clutching a phone that refused to ring. Waiting for my husband to come home. Waiting for answers to questions I didn't know how to ask. Waiting to figure out if Sage's smile had meant everything or nothing at all. The house settled around me, creaking and groaning the way old houses do. 17 years we'd lived here. 17 years of memories soaked into these walls. Lily's first steps in the kitchen. The water damage in the basement from that terrible storm. The handprints in the garage from when we'd painted it together. All three of us laughing at how messy we'd gotten. My phone buzzed. Finally, Daniel. But the message wasn't what I expected. I'm staying at the office tonight. I'll call you tomorrow. Not, I love you. Not, I'm sorry. Not, let's work this out. Just distance. Cold, deliberate distance. I typed back. We're having a baby. You can't just run away from this. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I know. That's why I need time to think. Please, Alina, just give me tonight. What choice did I have? Fine, but tomorrow we talk. No more running! Okay, one word. One meaningless word that promised nothing and solved even less. I pushed myself up off the floor, my knees protesting. 42 years old and pregnant for the first time in 3 years of trying. My body had pulled off a miracle, but my marriage was falling apart in ways I couldn't even define. The kitchen was dark when I walked in, the dinner I'd planned to make for our celebration forgotten. The cupcakes were still in my car, probably melting in the unseasonable October heat. I should get them. Throw them away. Stop pretending this day had gone anywhere close to how I'd imagined it, but I couldn't seem to make my feet move toward the garage. Instead, I found myself at Lily's door, the closed door to her room that I never entered without knocking. She was at work. I had permission, technically. Mothers were allowed in their daughters' rooms. I pushed it open anyway. Her space was neat in that carefully constructed teenage way where everything looked casual but was actually precisely placed. Posters of bands I'd never heard of. Books stacked on every surface. The desk we'd bought together when she started high school, now covered in college brochures even though she was only a junior, and on her dresser, in a small silver frame I'd never noticed before, a photo, Sage and Daniel. Just the two of them. At the beach from the look of it. She was laughing, her hair whipping in the wind. He had his arm around her shoulders, both of them squinting into the sun. Both of them looking happy in a way I couldn't remember seeing Daniel look in months. My hands were shaking as I picked up the frame. When was this taken? Why didn't I know about it? Why was it here, in Lily's room, displayed like something important? I turned it over. On the back, in handwriting I didn't recognize, Best beach day ever. September 14th last month. This was taken last month. I'd been at my mother's that weekend, helping her sort through Dad's things. The 1-year anniversary of his death. Daniel had said he was going to catch up on work. Lily had mentioned something about a study group. Nobody had mentioned the beach. Nobody had mentioned Sage. Nobody had mentioned this photo that sat in my daughter's room like it was normal. Like it was fine, like there was nothing strange about a 45-year-old man and a 19-year-old girl spending a day at the beach together while his wife grieved her father. The frame slipped from my fingers and hit the carpet with a soft thud. The glass didn't break, but something else did. That last thin strand of doubt, the one that had been holding back the flood. I picked up my phone again, fingers moving before I could talk myself out of it. Grace, I need you to come over. Now. And don't tell anyone why. She must have heard something in my voice because she didn't ask questions. Just said, 20 minutes. I'm leaving now. I went back downstairs, back to the entryway where this had all started to unravel. The pregnancy test was still upstairs in the bedroom, but I didn't need it anymore. Didn't need the reminder that I was growing a life while watching my own fall apart. The photo of Sage and Daniel was in my hand. I'd brought it down without thinking, evidence of something I couldn't quite name yet. Grace arrived in 15 minutes, her hair still wet from the shower, no makeup, wearing the sweatpants she reserved for emergencies. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug without saying a word. "Tell me," she said when she finally let go. "Tell me everything." So I did. The pregnancy test. Climbing the stairs. Sage's laugh, finding them innocent. Daniel's reaction to the news. Sage's return. Her knowing smile and careful words. The photo. All of it spilling out in a jumbled mess that probably didn't make sense but was all I had. Grace listened, her face growing darker with each detail. When I finished, she took the photo from my hands, studied it for a long moment. "September 14th, she said quietly. "That was Labor Day weekend." "I know. I was at Mom's." "Right." She set the photo down on the coffee table, face down so we didn't have to look at it. "Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think about the answer before you say it." I nodded. "Has Daniel given you any other reason to suspect him? Before today? Anything concrete?" I wanted to say no. Wanted to insist that everything had been fine until I'd climbed those stairs and let my imagination run wild. But Grace was watching me with those sharp eyes that had always seen through my lies, and I couldn't do it. "He's been distant," I admitted. "For months. Maybe longer. Always has an excuse to stay late at work. Stopped asking about my day. We haven't. We haven't been intimate since before we started trying again." "How long?" 3 months, maybe 4. Grace's expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. "And Sage? How often is she here?" "I don't know. A lot? She and Lily are best friends. She's always been here. But more recently, I tried to remember, tried to separate normal visits from something more. She was here last Tuesday and Friday, and I think she came by Sunday afternoon while I was at the grocery store. That's 3 times in 1 week. She's Lily's friend, Grace. They're close." Lily was working today, though, wasn't she? The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. Sage said she needed help with her economics paper. Did she? Grace pulled out her phone. "Do you know what classes she's taking this semester?" No. How would I know that? Grace was already typing, her fingers flying across her screen. She'd always been good with computers, with finding information that other people wanted hidden. It was what made her such a good paralegal. "Here," she said after a minute, turning the phone to show me. "Community College Course Catalog. Economics 101 is only offered in the spring semester. Sage can't be taking it right now." The floor tilted again, that same sensation from earlier, but worse now. More real. "Maybe she's getting ahead," I said weakly. "Planning for next semester?" "Maybe," Grace agreed, but her tone said she didn't believe it. "Or maybe that was just an excuse to be alone with your husband in your bedroom while you were out." But they weren't doing anything. I saw them, just studying. You saw them after you made noise coming up the stairs. After they had warning. Elena, you're not stupid. Stop pretending you don't see what's right in front of you. I wanted to argue. Wanted to defend Daniel, defend Sage, defend the innocent explanation that was still technically possible. But I couldn't get past that look on his face when I'd shown him the pregnancy test. That fear, that guilt. What do I do? The question came out broken. Grace sat back, thinking. First, you don't confront him yet. Not until we know more. Right now, you have suspicions and circumstantial evidence. That's not enough. Enough for... What? She looked at me like I was being deliberately dense. For when you divorce him, Elena. For when you need to protect yourself and your baby and make sure he doesn't get away with this. I don't want a divorce. I want the truth. Sometimes they're the same thing. She squeezed my hand. Look, I know this is scary. I know you don't want to believe it, but we need to be smart here. We need to gather evidence before he knows you're looking. Evidence of what? An affair? With a girl who was 14 when we met her? She's 19 now. Legally an adult. And yes, if that's what's happening, then yes. Evidence of an affair. The words made it real in a way nothing else had. Evidence. Affair. Legal terms for something that lived in the shadows of my imagination, growing more solid with every passing second. I can't do this, I whispered. I just found out I'm pregnant. I can't also be that wife who hires a private investigator and checks phone records and... Grace, I can't. Then let me do it. She stood up, pacing our living room like she was already planning. You focus on taking care of yourself and that baby. I'll figure out what's really going on. And if I'm wrong, if this is all just terrible timing and bad coincidences, then we never have to speak of it again. But if I'm right... She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. He's still my husband, I said, hating how small my voice sounded. He's still Lily's father. We can't just... What about her? What about our daughter? What about her? Grace turned to face me. If Daniel is having an affair with her best friend, do you think Lily doesn't know? Do you think she hasn't noticed? Kids see everything, Elena. They're just better at pretending they don't. The photo, the one in Lily's room. She had to know about that beach trip, had to have seen the picture, maybe even taken it. My daughter, my sweet 17-year-old who still called me Mama when she was tired, had been keeping secrets. I need to talk to her, I said. Not yet. Not until we know what we're dealing with. If you're wrong, you'll damage your relationship with her for nothing. And if you're right... Grace's face softened. If you're right, she's going to need you to be strong when it all comes out. Not falling apart because you confronted her too early. She was right. I hated it. But she was right. So what do I do? Just pretend everything's normal? Make dinner and ask about homework and act like I'm not dying inside? For now, yes. Can you do that? I thought about the pregnancy test upstairs. The baby growing inside me who would be born into whatever wreckage we were creating. The daughter who might already be keeping devastating secrets. The husband who had looked at me with guilt when he should have looked at me with joy. I don't have a choice, do I? We always have choices, Elena. This one just happens to be between bad and worse. Grace stayed for another hour, making me tea I didn't drink and extracting promises that I'd call her if anything else happened. When she finally left, the house felt bigger somehow. Emptier. Like it knew something was broken and was already mourning. I went upstairs, past Lily's room with its closed door and secret photograph, past the guest room where we'd already started planning a nursery in our heads, to my own bedroom where this had all started. The pregnancy test was still on the floor where I'd dropped it. I picked it up, those 2 pink lines still visible, still positive, still proof that my body had done something impossible. I woke up on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m, the cold tile pressed against my cheek and the taste of bile in my mouth. Morning sickness, though calling it that seemed like a cruel joke when it hit you in the dead of night. Daniel still wasn't home. I pulled myself up using the sink, avoiding my reflection in the mirror. I didn't need to see what I already knew. Was there? Dark circles, swollen eyes from crying, the face of a woman whose life was unraveling faster than she could catch the threads. My phone showed 6 missed calls from Grace and 1 text from Lily, sent at midnight. Working late inventory, crashing at Mara's, love you, not Sage's house. Mara's. I clung to that detail like a life raft. The house was too quiet. I moved through it like a ghost, turning on lights I didn't need, opening and closing cabinets without purpose. In the kitchen, I found myself staring at the refrigerator, at the collection of photos held up by magnets shaped like the places we'd traveled. Lily as a baby, our wedding day, family vacation in Yellowstone, Daniel and me at his company Christmas, party last year, his arm around my waist, both of us smiling. When had that smile become fake? When had the man in these photos stopped being the man I was married to? My phone rang, making me jump. Grace's name on the screen. "You're supposed to be sleeping," I said instead of hello. "So are you. I've got insomnia patrol tonight." She paused. "He's still not home?" "No. Elena, don't. Whatever you're going to say, just don't. Not yet." I heard her sigh. "I'm coming over. It's 3 a.m. I don't care. You shouldn't be alone right now." "I'm not alone. I have a baby." "Art?" The words felt strange in my mouth. "That's not being alone, right?" "That's exactly being alone." "I'm coming over." She hung up before I could argue, and honestly, I was grateful. The thought of sitting in this silent house for 4 more hours until sunrise felt unbearable. I made coffee I shouldn't drink while I waited, the familiar ritual giving my hands something to do. Grace arrived 20 minutes later with her laptop bag and that determined look she got when she was on a mission. "I've been doing research," she said without preamble, setting up her laptop on my kitchen table. "Looking into things?" "What kind of things?" "Cell phone records, for one. Don't ask me how I got them. Let's just say I have friends in useful places." She turned the laptop toward me. Spreadsheets filled the screen, numbers and timestamps that meant nothing to me. "What am I looking at?" "Daniel's call log for the past 3 months. Her finger traced down a column. "See this number? It appears 47 times. Calls and texts. Sometimes at 2 a.m, sometimes during his lunch break. Sometimes when you told me he said he was working late." My stomach clenched. "Whose number?" "I don't know yet. It's not saved in his contacts, at least not under a real name. But," she clicked to another screen, "the area code is local. And the pattern is interesting. Look here." She highlighted several dates. "These are all days when Lily told you she was at Sage's house. Days when Sage's father was supposedly out of town. So I checked. Sage's father, Tom Winters, hasn't worked a rig in the Gulf in over a year. He's been land-based, working locally, home every night." The coffee in my hand suddenly felt too hot. "That doesn't mean anything. Maybe Lily was at Sage's and didn't know her father was home. Maybe—" "Elena, stop." Grace closed the laptop. "I know you want there to be an innocent explanation. I know you're hoping we're wrong. But the pieces are all there. You just have to be willing to see them." "I can't." The words burst out of me. "Grace, I can't see them because if I do, then everything is real. If I see them, then I have to accept that my husband is. That he would. With someone we took into our home, someone we trusted, someone who's barely older than—" I couldn't finish. The nausea was back, worse than before. Grace was beside me in an instant, holding my hair back as I leaned over the sink. When the heaving stopped, she wet a dish towel and pressed it against my neck. "You need to see a doctor," she said quietly. "This stress isn't good for the baby. I have an appointment Tuesday. That's 4 days away. Can you get in sooner?" "Probably." I rinsed my mouth, accepting the glass of water she handed me. "Grace, what if you're wrong? What if we're destroying everything over nothing?" "Then we apologize and work to fix it." But what if I'm right and you do nothing? What then? I didn't have an answer for that. We sat in silence for a while, the kitchen gradually lightening as dawn crept closer. At 5:30, I heard the garage door open. Daniel's car. Finally, Grace squeezed my hand. Do you want me to stay? No, I need to do this alone. She gathered her things quickly, slipping out the front door just as Daniel came in through the garage. We passed each other in the hallway, him looking exhausted in rumpled work clothes, me trying to read his face and finding it frustratingly blank. Elena. He stopped, keeping distance between us. We should talk. Yes, we should. I gestured toward the living room. Coffee? No, I've been drinking it all night. He rubbed his face. I didn't sleep. Just drove around thinking. And? What did all that thinking tell you? He sat on the couch, the one we'd picked out together 7 years ago, and I saw him properly for the first time since yesterday. The dark circles matched mine. His hair was a mess. His tie was gone, probably discarded in his office along with whatever pretense we'd been maintaining. I need you to understand something, he started. When we got married, I thought I knew what I wanted. Family, kids, the whole picture, and I did want it. I really did. Past tense, every word in past tense. But, I prompted when he didn't continue. But somewhere along the way, I changed. And I didn't know how to tell you because you were so fixed on this idea of having a baby, and I didn't want to be the one to take that away from you. So you just went along with it? Pretended? My voice was sharper than I intended. For 3 years, Daniel? You let me go through treatments and disappointments and hope that was killing me, and you were just pretending the whole time? I wasn't pretending. I was trying to want what you wanted, trying to be the husband you needed. The husband I needed would have been honest with me. Would you have listened? He met my eyes finally. If I'd told you 2 years ago that I wasn't sure about having another baby, would you have stopped? Or would you have convinced yourself it was just cold feet and kept pushing? The truth of his words stung. Because he was right. I would have pushed. I had pushed even when he'd seemed hesitant, even when he'd made excuses about timing or stress at work. I'd been so desperate for this baby that I'd bulldozed over every subtle no he'd tried to give me. So what now? I asked. You want me to end the pregnancy? Is that what this is about? No, God, no. Elena, I would never ask you to do that. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. But I think maybe we need some space, some time apart to figure out what we really want. A separation. A trial separation. Just until we can sort through this. I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in our too big living room. You want to separate while I'm pregnant with our baby. Do you hear how that sounds? I know how it sounds. But staying together just for a baby, forcing something that isn't working, that's not fair to anyone. Not to you, not to me, and especially not to the child. What about Lily? What about our daughter who's about to be a senior in high school? Lily's almost 18. She's going to college in a year anyway. She'll understand. The casual way he said it, like our daughter's feelings were an afterthought, made something snap inside me. Will she understand about Sage too? The words were out before I could stop them, hanging in the air between us like accusation and plea and prayer all at once. Daniel's face went very still. What about Sage? You tell me. The beach trip in September. The private tutoring sessions. The phone calls at 2 a.m. How do you... He stopped himself. You've been checking my phone records? Grace did. But don't change the subject. Is there something going on with Sage? That's ridiculous. She's a kid. She's 19. A legal adult. Answer the question, Daniel. He stood up abruptly. I'm not doing this. I'm not being interrogated in my own home because you've decided to manufacture some drama to avoid dealing with the real issues. The real issues? You just told me you don't want this baby and you want to separate. What am I manufacturing? This insane jealousy about a girl who's been part of our lives for years. Sage is Lily's friend. I've been helping her because her own father is never around and someone needs to. But if you're going to twist that into something ugly, then maybe this separation is a better idea than I thought. He was walking toward the stairs, already dismissing me, dismissing the conversation, dismissing everything. I found the photo. I called after him. In Lily's room. You and Sage at the beach? Looking very cozy. He paused on the third step. Lily took that picture. She was there. It was a group thing, not some secret rendezvous. Then why didn't anyone tell me about it? Because you were at your mother's, grieving your father, and we didn't want to bother you with mundane details. Jesus, Elena. Listen to yourself. You sound paranoid. Maybe I was. Maybe the stress and hormones and fear were making me see connections that didn't exist. Maybe I was destroying my marriage with suspicion and accusations, based on nothing more than coincidence and a stranger's phone number, or maybe I was finally seeing clearly for the first time in years. When are you leaving? I asked, my voice flat. He turned to look at me, surprise flickering across his face. What? The trial separation. When are you leaving? I thought I'd pack some things today. Stay at a hotel for now. Look for a short-term rental. Fine, but you tell Lily. You explain to our daughter why her father is moving out. Elena, no, you don't get to make me the bad guy here. You wanted this, you explain it? He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll talk to her. He went upstairs, and I heard drawers opening, the closet door sliding. The sounds of a marriage ending, mundane and domestic and devastating all at once. I sat on that couch we'd picked out together and put my hand on my stomach. It's just us now, I whispered to the tiny life growing there. Just us against the world, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He'll come back to you. Eventually. They always do. But by then, you'll have figured out you don't want him anymore. I stared at the message, my hands shaking. No name, no signature. But I knew who it was. Sage. Another text arrived before I could respond. Congratulations on the baby. I hope she has your eyes. Not he. Not they. How did Sage know I was having a girl when I didn't even know yet? When I hadn't even had the ultrasound? I scrolled up, looking for a previous conversation, any indication of how she'd gotten my number. But there was nothing. Just these 2 messages from a number I didn't recognize. Daniel came downstairs 20 minutes later with 2 suitcases and his laptop bag. He paused in the doorway of the living room, and for a moment, I thought he might say something, apologize, take it all back. Instead, he just said, I'll call you later about logistics. Then he was gone, the front door closing with a soft click that sounded far too final. I sat there for a long time after, Sage's messages glowing on my phone screen. He'll come back to you, eventually, not now. Not soon, eventually, like she knew something I didn't. Like she had information about my own marriage that I wasn't privy to. The sun was fully up now, morning light streaming through windows that needed cleaning. In a few hours, Lily would come home from Mara's house. I'd have to tell her about her father, about the separation, about the baby that was supposed to bring us together, but had instead torn us apart. But first, I needed answers. I pulled up Sage's father's information, found his number in the church directory from 3 years ago. Tom Winters answered on the second ring, his voice rough with what sounded like a hangover. Hello? Mr. Winters, this is Elena Chen, Lily's mother. I'm sorry to call so early, but I need to ask you something about Sage. A pause. Then, what about her? Has she been staying at your house recently? When you've been out of town? I haven't been out of town in over a year, Mrs. Chen. Been working the refineries here locally since I hurt my back. So Sage has been home? With you. Another pause, longer this time. Sage doesn't live with me anymore. Hasn't for about 6 months now. She got her own place near the college. The world tilted again. Her own place? Yeah, said she needed independence. I send her money when I can, but mostly she's been supporting herself. Working, I think, though she's been kind of secretive about where. Mr. Winters, when was the last time you saw Sage with my husband? The silence on the other end was answer enough. Mr. Winters? Look, I don't want to get involved in whatever's going on, but I saw them once, about a month ago, at a restaurant across town. They didn't see me, and I didn't say anything because I figured it wasn't my business. But the way they were sitting, the way he was looking at her, I thought maybe you knew, that you were okay with it. Okay with what, exactly? Mrs. Chen, I really don't think I should. Tell me, please. He sighed, and I heard the sound of a lighter, a sharp inhale. It looked like they were more than friends. That's all I'm saying. And if I'm wrong, then I apologize for even bringing it up. But you asked, and I'm not going to lie to you. I thanked him and hung up before he could say anything else, before he could confirm what I already knew in my bones. Sage's texts were still on my screen. I typed out a response, my fingers surprisingly steady. How did you get my number? The reply came almost instantly, like she'd been waiting. Your husband gave it to me. Months ago, in case of emergencies. This is an emergency? Isn't it? I wanted to throw my phone across the room, watch it shatter against the wall. Instead, I took a screenshot of the conversation and sent it to Grace with one word. Help. Her response came immediately. On my way. I went upstairs to Lily's room, to that photo on her dresser. This time I really looked at it. The background, the details I'd missed before. Daniel's hand on Sage's shoulder, fingers curved possessively. The way she leaned into him, comfortable and familiar. The sunset behind them painting everything in romantic gold, and there, in the corner, barely visible. A reflection in the window behind them. Another person, taking the photo, not Lily. The reflection showed someone taller, broader. A man who had really taken this picture? And why had Lily been willing to keep it, to display it in her room like it was normal? I heard the front door open. Grace, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. Elena? Her voice echoed up the stairs. Where are you? Lily's room. I held up the photo when she appeared in the doorway. Look at the reflection. She took it, studied it, and I watched her face harden. That's not Lily. No. So who took this photo? And why did your daughter have it? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Grace set the photo down carefully. Elena, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What we're uncovering here, it's bigger than an affair. It's calculated, deliberate. Someone is playing a very long game, and I'm not sure who all the players are yet. You think Lily knows? I think your daughter knows something. Whether she understands what it means is another question. My phone rang. Lily's name on the screen. I answered, trying to keep my voice normal. Hey, sweetie. Mom. Her voice was strange, tight. I'm outside. Can you come down alone? What's wrong? Just come down, please. I looked at Grace, who nodded. I'll be right here. Lily was sitting in her car in the driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel. She didn't look at me when I climbed into the passenger seat. Sage texted me, she said without preamble. Told me Dad moved out. Told me about the baby. Told me... Her voice broke. Mom, how long have you known? Known what? She finally turned to face me, and I saw tears streaming down her face. About them. About Dad and Sage, how long? The answer stuck in my throat, because she was asking the wrong question. She should have been asking how long I'd suspected, but she was asking how long I'd known, like it was an established fact. Like everyone knew except me? Lily, what exactly did Sage tell you? My daughter's face crumpled. Everything. She told me everything. And Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Then she started to cry in earnest. And I held her while my own world finished shattering piece by piece, until there was nothing left but the truth I'd been running from, the truth that everyone else had apparently already known. Tell me everything, I said once Lily's tears had slowed to hiccups. From the beginning. We were still sitting in her car, the engine off, windows fogging up from our breathing. She wiped her face with her sleeve, looking younger than 17, looking like the little girl who used to crawl into my lap when she had nightmares. It started last summer, she whispered. Maybe earlier, I don't know. But last summer is when I noticed the way they looked at each other, the way Dad would find excuses to drive Sage home, the way she started dressing different when she knew he'd be around. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought I was imagining it. Because Sage is my best friend and Dad is my dad, and those things don't happen in real families. She laughed bitterly. Except they do, don't they? My heart ached for her, for the innocence she'd lost, for the burden she'd carried alone. Keep going. In August, I saw them. At the mall. Dad was supposed to be at a conference in Houston, but I saw him with Sage at the food court. They were holding hands, Mom. Holding hands like a couple. My stomach turned. What did you do? I confronted Sage that night. She cried. She said she loved him. She said they couldn't help it, that it just happened. She begged me not to tell you because it would destroy the family. She said they were going to end it, that it was a mistake. But they didn't end it. No, it got worse. She moved out of her dad's place, and Dad was paying her rent. I found the Venmo transactions on his phone. Every month, $1,500 to Sage. For her apartment, $1,500. Money from our joint account. Money I'd thought was going to his investments or work expenses or any of the 100 things we never discussed because we trusted each other. The beach trip, I said. In September, Lily nodded miserably. Dad invited me. Said we should spend time together before college applications got crazy. But when we got there, Sage just happened to show up. It was all planned. And I took that picture because Sage asked me to. She wanted proof of how happy they looked together. Proof for what? I don't know. I didn't ask. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have told you months ago, but Sage kept saying they were ending it. And Dad kept promising it was almost over, and I just wanted everything to be normal again. I pulled my daughter close, breathing in her familiar scent of drugstore shampoo and vanilla lotion. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. But I lied to you. Every time you asked where Sage was staying or why Dad was late or you were protecting your family. That's what kids do, even when they shouldn't have to. I held her tighter. But Lily, I need you to understand something. Your father made these choices. Sage made these choices. You were put in an impossible position, and you did the best you could. I'm not angry at you. I could never be angry at you. We sat there while the sun climbed higher, while the neighborhood came alive around us with the sounds of normal Sunday mornings. Lawnmowers and barking dogs and children laughing. All the ordinary happiness we'd been pretending to have. There's more, Lily said finally, pulling back to look at me. Sage told me this morning. She said she's pregnant too. The words didn't register at first. Couldn't register? What? She took a test yesterday. She wanted me to know before she told Dad. She said it changes everything. That now he has to choose. I felt something crack inside me. Something fundamental and irreparable. Not my heart, that had broken already. This was deeper. This was the foundation of who I thought I was, the bedrock of my life, crumbling to dust. How far along? My voice sounded distant, clinical, she didn't say. But Mom? The timeline. If you're 6 weeks and she just found out, you might be pregnant at the same time. By the same man. I started laughing then. Couldn't help it. The absurdity of it. The cosmic joke of finally getting pregnant after 3 years only to discover my husband had managed it with someone else too. Maybe even first. Maybe the universe had been saving my miracle for this exact moment of maximum devastation. Mom, are you okay? Lily's voice was frightened now. No, I said honestly, forcing myself to stop laughing. But I will be. We will be. I pulled out my phone and called Grace. She answered immediately. Lily told me everything. Sage is claiming she's pregnant too, Slance. Then, that manipulative little, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find out exactly when Sage got pregnant. Medical records, pharmacy purchases, anything you can access. Elena, that's not exactly legal. I don't care. Grace, please. I need to know if she's lying. If this is real or just another move in whatever game she's playing. Another pause. Give me a few hours. I'll see what I can find. I hung up and turned to Lily. I need you to text Sage. Tell her you told me everything. Tell her I want to meet with her today. Mom, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't care. Set it up. I need to look her in the eye and hear this from her directly. Lily's fingers trembled on her phone, typing and deleting and typing again. Finally, she hit send. The response came in seconds. Park on Riverside, 1 hour. Come alone. She wants you alone, Lily said, fear creeping into her voice. That's not safe. I'll have Grace follow me. But Lily... I need you to promise me something. Anything. No matter what happens, no matter what you find out in the next few days, I need you to know that none of this is about you. Your father and I, whatever happens with us, you are loved. You are wanted. You are the best thing either of us ever did. And this baby, I put my hand on my stomach. This baby is going to be lucky to have you as a big sister. She started crying again, and I held her until she pulled away, wiping her eyes. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. More than anything in this world. I went inside to find Grace already packing her surveillance bag, camera, voice recorder, pepper spray. I'm coming with you, she said without looking up. She said alone. And I said, I'm coming. I'll stay in the car, out of sight. But I'm not letting you face that girl alone. I didn't argue. Didn't have the energy. Besides, having Grace nearby felt like the only anchor keeping me from floating away completely. We drove in silence, Grace's car following mine at a discreet distance. The park was nearly empty when we arrived, just a few joggers and one old man feeding ducks at the pond. Sage was sitting on a bench near the water, wearing a sundress that showed off her flat stomach. No sign of pregnancy yet. But then again, neither did I. I approached slowly, hyper-aware of Grace's eyes on me from the parking lot. Sage looked up as I got close, and that smile appeared. The one I'd seen through the crack in my bedroom door. The one that had haunted me for days. Knowing and cruel and somehow still beautiful. Mrs. Chen. Thank you for coming. Don't. I sat down, keeping deliberate space between us. My phone was in my pocket, voice recorder already running. Don't pretend this is a friendly meeting, isn't it? We're going to be family after all, both carrying Daniel's children. That makes us something, doesn't it? Sisters of a sort? The casual cruelty in her voice was startling. This wasn't the sweet girl who'd sat at my dinner table. This was someone else entirely. Or maybe this was who she'd always been, and I'd been too blind to see it. It makes us nothing. You're a child who seduced a married man. I'm 19, legally an adult. And I didn't seduce anyone. She turned to face me fully, crossing her legs. Daniel pursued me. He told me his marriage was over. He told me you were cold and distant and obsessed with getting pregnant. He said he was staying for Lily, but that once she went to college, he was leaving anyway. Each word was a knife, precise and deliberate. Designed to cut. I don't believe you. Don't you? She pulled out her phone, scrolled through messages with practiced ease. Read them yourself. Months of texts. Him saying he loves me. Him promising we'll be together. Him sending me money, buying me things, planning our future. She thrust the phone at me and I couldn't help but look. Message after message, my husband's words to another woman. Words I'd wanted to hear, promises he'd never made me. A love story written in the ink of our betrayal. You never meant to marry my wife, did you? I read one message from 3 months ago. She's so desperate for a baby she doesn't even see me anymore. I love you, not her. Another read. This pregnancy thing has become an obsession. I'm doing it to keep the peace, but my heart is with you. When Lily goes to college, we can be together properly. Just wait for me. I handed the phone back, my hands shaking. Why? The question came out broken. Why did you do this? What did I ever do to you? You? She laughed. This was never about you, Mrs. Chen. You were just collateral damage. Then what was it about? She was quiet for a moment, looking out at the pond where ducks glided across smooth water. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Less performative, more real. Do you know what it's like to watch your mother die when you're 9 years old? To have your father look at you like you're the reason she's gone because you have her eyes, her smile, her laugh? To be sent away to boarding school at 10 because your own father can't stand to be around you? Sage, I came back when I was 14. Dad had a new girlfriend. She was 26, closer to my age than his. And when she left him 6 months later, you know what he said? He said women always leave, that they take what they want and disappear, that the only way to survive is to take first. So you decided to prove him right? I decided to see if he was right. She looked at me now. I picked Daniel because he seemed perfect. Good husband, good father, good man. I wanted to see how long it would take to crack that facade. Turned out not very long at all. This was an experiment? Destroying my family was research? Don't be so dramatic. Your family was already broken. I just exposed the cracks. She leaned back, utterly at ease. Daniel didn't love you anymore, Mrs. Chen. Maybe he never did. I just gave him permission to admit it. And the pregnancy? Is that part of the experiment too? Her smile widened. What do you think? I think you're lying. I think you're not pregnant at all. Does it matter? Daniel believes it. Lily believes it. By the time anyone figures out the truth, the damage will be done. She stood up, smoothing her dress. But between you and me? No, I'm not pregnant. Never was. I just wanted to see what would happen if I said I was. The confession should have made me angry. Should have made me furious. Instead, I felt something close to pity. This girl, this damaged, broken girl, had orchestrated all of this suffering because she couldn't process her own. I'm sorry, I said. She froze. What? I'm sorry about your mother. I'm sorry your father failed you. I'm sorry you learned that love is manipulation and trust is weakness. But Sage, you need help. Professional help. Because this path you're on, it only ends in more pain. I don't need your pity. It's not pity. It's grief. For the girl you could have been if someone had loved you properly. I stood up too, facing her. You're right about one thing, though. My marriage was already broken. You didn't destroy it. You just made me see what was already there. And for that, strange as it sounds, I'm almost grateful. You're insane. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just done being afraid. I pulled out my phone, showed her the voice recorder. I have everything you just said. The confession about not being pregnant. The admission that this was deliberate manipulation. All of it. Her face went pale. You were recording me? Just like you kept those texts from Daniel. Just like you orchestrated that beach photo. We all have our insurance policies. I started walking away, then turned back. Oh, and Sage? Stay away from my family, all of us. If I see you near Lily, near my house, anywhere in my orbit, I will make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you've done. Understood? She didn't answer, but the fear in her eyes was enough. Grace was waiting by her car, camera in hand. Got pictures of the whole conversation. And that recording? Crystal clear. Good, because we have one more stop to make. Daniel was at the hotel where he'd been staying, looking rumpled and defeated when he opened the door. His face cycled through surprise, fear, and resignation when he saw both of us standing there. Elena. Grace. What? We need to talk, I said, pushing past him into the generic hotel room with its generic furniture and generic art. About your future, or lack thereof. I played him the recording, watched his face as Sage's voice filled the room, confessing to manipulation, admitting she wasn't pregnant, revealing the calculated cruelty of everything she'd done. When it finished, he sat down heavily on the bed. She told me she loved me. She told you what you wanted to hear. Just like you told her what she wanted to hear. Just like you told me for years that you wanted this baby when apparently you didn't. I stayed standing, Grace beside me like a bailiff at a trial. Here's what's going to happen, Daniel. You're going to agree to an uncontested divorce. I keep the house, full custody of Lily, and you pay child support for both children. You don't fight me on anything. Elena, I'm not finished. You're also going to write a letter to Lily, taking full responsibility for your choices. You're going to apologize to her for putting her in that position, for making her keep secrets, for failing her as a father. And you're going to explain that this had nothing to do with her and everything, to do with your own weakness. That's fair, he said quietly. I'm still not finished. I pulled out the divorce papers. Grace had already prepared, dropped them on the bed beside him. You're going to sign these today, and then you're going to disappear from our lives except for scheduled visitation with Lily, if and when she decides she wants to see you. You don't show up unannounced. You don't try to manipulate her into taking sides. You let her process this in her own time. Okay, and Daniel, if you ever go near another teenager, If you ever abuse your position of authority with someone vulnerable again, I will make sure everyone knows what you did. Your employer, your friends, your family, everyone. Am I clear? He nodded, not meeting my eyes. Good. I turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I really did love you. The you I thought you were, I'm sorry that person doesn't exist. Grace and I left him there with the papers and his guilt, walked out into the afternoon sunshine that seemed too bright for the occasion. You okay? Grace asked as we reached our cars. No, but I will be. You were amazing in there. I was surviving. There's a difference. She hugged me, fierce and tight. You're going to get through this. You and Lily and that baby. You're going to be fine. Promise? Promise. 3 weeks later, the divorce papers were signed and filed. Daniel had moved across town, started therapy at my insistence, and had written Lily a letter that made them both cry, but opened a door to eventual healing. Sage had left town entirely, last seen heading to California with no forwarding address. I stood in what would be the nursery, painting walls a soft yellow while Lily helped. We didn't talk about Daniel or Sage or any of it. We just painted mother and daughter, building something new from the wreckage of what had been. Mom, Lily asked as we cleaned brushes, are you going to be okay? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. Thought about the baby growing inside me. About my daughter standing beside me. About the life we were going to build without the weight of lies dragging us down. Yes, I said finally. Not today, maybe not tomorrow. But eventually, we both will be. She hugged me, and I felt my daughter's strength matching my own. Whatever Sage had meant to destroy, she'd actually revealed. That we were resilient. That we were survivors. That we were enough, just the two of us about to become 3. My phone buzzed. A text from my doctor's office reminding me about my 20-week ultrasound next Tuesday. The appointment where we'd confirm what I already knew in my bones, that I was having a daughter. Another girl to raise in this complicated world. Another chance to show what real love looked like. Another opportunity to break the cycles of manipulation and pain that had brought us to this moment. I put my hand on my stomach, feeling the flutter of life within. We're going to be okay, I whispered. All of us. We're going to be better than okay. Outside, the sun was setting over our neighborhood, painting everything in gold. A new beginning disguised as an ending. The way all the best transformations are. Lily stood beside me at the window, her hand finding mine. You know what, Mom? I think Sage did us a favor. How do you figure that? She showed us who we really are, and who we aren't. Dad made his choices. She made hers. But we get to choose who we become after this. And I choose to be like you, strong, honest, unbreakable. I pulled her close, tears streaming down my face. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. We're going to be okay, I said again, and this time it felt like truth instead of hope. The nursery walls gleamed yellow in the dying light, fresh and clean and ready for new life. Ready for whatever came next. Ready for us to write a different story than the one that had been written for us. And for the first time since I'd climbed those stairs with a pregnancy test in my pocket, I believed in happy endings again. Not the fairy tale kind, the real kind. The kind built on truth and strength and the unshakable love between a mother and her children. The kind that could survive anything. Even this. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.